How's good everyone? Today in this video, as you can tell, I'll be discussing and pretty much giving my thoughts on the Stone Cold podcast that took place tonight, of course, with special guest AJ Styles. Just pretty much give you guys my quick thoughts and pretty much review on it. Overall, like I say, it was a pretty good podcast. You know, it was fairly on the short side. It was about, I want to say, barely 50 minutes, it seemed like to me. I know it got cut pretty short for some reason because these usually go about an hour to hour 15 minutes. So the fact that it got cut to about 15 minutes is pretty short, and I don't really know why. But yeah, I thought it was a fun, enjoyable podcast. You know, AJ Styles was, giving information that I personally didn't know before. You know, he gave us some up story about, him growing up as a child. You know, how his dad was in the Marines and whatnot, and his dad was kind of had a little bit of drinking problem, and kind of was alcoholic. And besides him being alcoholic, he was always a great dad. And how he didn't really have much as a child. He grew up in a trailer. That's where he lived in for pretty much his entire childhood. He lived in a trailer. I went to college. He used to amateur wrestle in high school and all that stuff. And then he actually got involved in cheerleading because his girlfriend, who was now his wife, was a cheerleader. He got involved in that a little bit. That's why he credits that for his style he wrestles in. In terms of the innovation, high flyingness he does. He credits cheerleading for that. Talked about how he wasn't really much of a wrestling fan because he didn't have cable, so he watched wrestling, but he didn't really watch it like you would today. He knew of it, but it wasn't because he didn't have any cable, so he didn't really have no way of watching wrestling back in the day. But a couple of his buddies were going to become pro wrestlers, and AJ said, "No, I found a place. Give me a call." And since he used to do football in high school, the bumps and everything were just no problem for him, and it was fairly easy for him to get into because, like I said, he was, he did the bumps well because he played football. He had the amateur wrestling background, which he never really applied it, but definitely kind of helped him. And of course, the cheerleading, helped him with his high flying dynamic aerial assault. So it all kind of mishmaxed into one. Talked about how he got the Phenomenal nickname, how someone once called him, Phenomenal, and a friend of his used to say, "Hey, what's up, Phenomenal One?" to him. So that's how it kind of inverted into, the Phenomenal AJ Styles. Like I said, talked about how he got into wrestling, started wrestling, then of course, he got signed to WCW, but then, once his contract once WWE bought WCW, of course, his contract was not picked up by the WWE, so that's why he never went to WWE after WCW fell. So in 2001, that happened. Then, of course, he started working independent, started making a name for himself. After a match with Christopher Daniels, which he credits as one of his best friends, him, Frankie Kazarian, and Samoa Joe are his three best friends, he said, in the wrestling business. And, of course, 2002, WWE reached out to him, tried to sign him a year later, but he couldn't do it because his wife was at college at the time and didn't want to sacrifice her moving back in with her parents for him to become a professional wrestler, because I think they were married at the time, so he didn't want to, why would he have his wife live with her parents when he should be providing and helping her? So he sacrificed that. He talked about going his own way, talked about making his name for self independence, talked about TNA. Yes, I did talk about TNA quite a bit. Name dropped TNA, name dropped Dixie Carter, talked about how how the landscape TNA changed. I don't know why I said that with an accent, but like when Hogan, Bischoff, and Flair and all them came in, that's when TNA really started shifting. In 2010, of course, he said he liked the six-sided ring because it was different. It made them different. But once he was taking certain bumps in that ring, the way the ring is formatted, he did not like it. So he thought the 4x4 is definitely a lot or not a 4x4. A four-sided ring is definitely better than a six-sided ring. So they discussed about TNA. Talked about how he got into New Japan. Went there and pretty much replaced Finn Balor. In the Bullet Club because Finn Balor's leader. He was leaving, so AJ came in and pretty much replaced him. So it's kind of a way to have things that just reversed or kind of just switch because Finn Balor went to WWE and AJ went to the Bullet Club, New Japan, and then of course AJ's here now. And in the podcast, AJ pretty much shows how great of a person he is. He really shows his colors as a person. He's definitely a very, very nice guy. He says that his one goal in wrestling or the one responsibility that he has is to make sure he gets himself over. He has a great, his out views in wrestling as well, I thought were very, very good. Gives his views and opinions on, certain aspects, how oh, what if this guy brings you down? But then AJ's like, well, why would I let him bring me down for? I'm responsible of how I go. Why would I let someone else, bring me down, quote unquote, or someone like bury him or whatever? He has to make himself to the top, and that's, that I believe that as well. And he also says that it's his job to get himself over. Some people say like, oh, he needs, a certain manager to get himself over, which it shouldn't be that way. Your job is to get yourself over. And I like that mentality that AJ Styles had. And I thought in this podcast he just had a lot of good stories. They didn't go nearly as in detail or in depth as I'd like them to. And of course, he talked about his contract status going to WWE, how in 2014, a friend of his reached out to Triple H, who was friends with Triple H or knew Triple H, and pretty much told him about AJ being a free agent. Triple H supposedly told him that he'd call AJ, never called him. 2016 comes around, late 2015, I should say. Of course, AJ's becoming a free agent. He's in discussions with TNA about going over there, and of course, WWE intertwines. Triple H makes a call to AJ Styles, almost 2 years later, and then of course that's where the negotiations came, and that's why AJ came to WWE. Talked about his encounter with Vince McMahon, pretty much Vince telling him how he wants to see AJ go, how he wants to see him evolve in the WWE. So that was good information to hear. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty good Stone Cold podcast. Like I said, I thought it was, very, very good. It could have been a lot better, and it could have been a lot longer as well. Me personally, I'm personally like the things go in depth, like the details, like the juice. I like, because the deeper it goes, the more it sinks me in, the more I want to know and hear, and more, just absorb, I guess you can say, the information and just really take it all in. So I'm a learner like that. I really like to learn these things, and that's why I wish it was a little bit better. It could have been, I think if Steve Austin just filmed his own Stone Cold podcast, like backstage on Raw, whatever, it could have been a lot more information, a lot better. But it is what it is. I still thought it was a fun Stone Cold podcast. I enjoyed it. I thought AJ Styles did a great job. Shows a great person he is. I like his mindset in terms of wrestling. I like his stories about, going through wrestling, getting into it, the steps he took, TNA, New Japan, how he got to the WWE. So that was some good stuff. Stone Cold did a good job. He actually did a cuss fest at the very beginning, which was just censored, which is pretty funny. But all in all, very good Stone Cold podcast. AJ Styles. I recommend you guys checking out on the WWE Network. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And until next time, I'll see you guys. And thank you guys for watching the video.
We some Southern boys with the promised strength.